My name's Ross Hinter. We're in Edmonton, Alberta at the start of this winter. I make a living in wildlife control, or what we call animal damage control. Beaver, they're extremely overpopulated in this province, so we do a lot of that work. Coyote control, spring and the fall, they seem to be getting into most of the trouble. So we do quite a bit with coyotes. But sometimes I'll be up in the northern part tracking wolves that are killing somebody's livestock. So there's a varying degree of that. But I would say we do more beaver and coyote control than all the rest. Well, probably to start with, I guess the main calls that we get are either flooding, which beaver are famous for flooding, which is normally in the spring. In the fall, the problem is usually the cutting of trees. So you've got trees that have fallen, you've got areas where they've actually almost devastated the deciduous growth. That coupled with the fact that sometimes the fall doesn't last long enough, they've got most of the way through a tree and then they've abandoned it. So you've got trees just waiting for a windfall to come up and blow down. So it's, you know, when we look at that in the city, that's a very dangerous issue because the river valley and wherever there's water is a draw to all people, especially children. This time of the year, we've got winter. We're standing on ice right now. We're fairly safe. We've got good deep ice, but as I mentioned, you get closer into the lodge or around a food pile like this, the beaver are constantly around that all winter long. And you can get spots where the ice will not hold a man my size or even smaller than me, even a child. If they step in the right spot, they're going to go down.
You can hear the hollow sound.
So safety issue is one, but environmental responsibility is, like I said, we're allowing a species of animal to overpopulate with no natural predators in the area. To me, I try to explain it as no different than an ice cream pail full of water. Once you've reached the capacity, the carrying capacity of that bucket, something has to give. It's going to overflow. And when we create that, we create a part of nature that very few people will ever see. They have no concept of what goes on in these animals' lives when they're overpopulated. Their immune system is one of the first things to break down because they're not getting enough of what they need. So, in fairness to the animal, that's not acceptable, as well as what I've talked about the safety issues and concerns for humans. We've done so much damage now. Our race has dominated the earth. We've moved it around to suit ourselves with bulldozers and dynamite, and I think we're all beginning to realize that it's coming to an end. And to think that it's bad enough that we're doing that to the earth, but the effect we're having on the wildlife. And every time we take out a paper to drop in a photocopier, we don't really think that that had to come from some resource. And when we go out to extract resources, we're having an effect on the wildlife, but we don't see them. We don't see the effect that we have if they have to go. And again, the ice cream pail. Where do we take this overflow? It's not a question of, it's a very simple thing, just take them from here and introduce them into another area, out of an urban area like this. These animals are territorial. They do not welcome newcomers into that area. So what we think is a nice method, or a more humane or respectful method to relocate an animal in another area. If those people could watch what that animal goes through for the next 4 or 5 days, if it lives that long, they'd have a change in what nature is. They begin to realize it can be extremely harsh. If you're going to take the life of any animal, you better know what you're doing. You better be good at it, and that's how I got into this. When you take a look at what happens in areas where they don't have people that understand the humane methods and the real biology of what's going on at certain times of the year with these animals, it's disastrous. Poisons and things that we think are simple are just absolutely horrendous. So what I have to do and what I teach others to do is to use the most humane methods out there. And I feel good about that part of it.